Hurricane Matthew is currently moving through the southern Bahamas and will make news in the U.S. right into the weekend. It's already set a few records and provided some unique weather observations. Now, the name Matthew replaced Mitch, which was retired in 1998 after causing a humanitarian catastrophe in Central America. In both 2004 and 2010, there were tropical storms named Matthew, but not hurricanes. The 2016 edition of Matthew officially became a hurricane in the Caribbean last Thursday. By 11 a.m. Friday, it was a Category 3, and 12 hours later, it had rapidly intensified to a Category 5, the closest to the equator that any Atlantic hurricane on record had achieved Cat 5 status. The previous record holder was Ivan in the same part of the Caribbean a dozen years ago. Matthew was the first Category 5 in the Atlantic since Felix 9 years ago. You have to go back to the 1940s and early 1950s to find a longer period in the Atlantic without one. Being so far south also meant tropical advisories for the islands of Aruba and Curacao, as well as northern Colombia and Venezuela, were necessary. You don't see that very often. Another consequence of being so far south was that Matthew was outside the area where high-resolution satellite images are available every few minutes. That's why this loop isn't quite as smooth and continuous as what we're used to. The images are every half hour instead of every 5 to 7 minutes. Now, here's a different view of Matthew when it was a Cat 5. This is a visible image taken at night. Now, typically you need sunlight or at least moonlight to get an image like this, but the moon was new that night. The source of light here was air glow, a feeble luminosity given off by some gases at high altitudes. Now look to the north and to the east of Matthew's eye. Those ripples in the tops of the clouds are called gravity waves. They're perturbations moving away from the powerful thunderstorms that had formed in the eye wall as the hurricane rapidly intensified. You can also see city lights here, particularly those on Jamaica and Puerto Rico, and those streaks of white you see near the center of the hurricane, these right here, those are actually from lightning. Matthew also gave us some textbook surface observations. Early Monday, the eye passed almost directly over a buoy in the Caribbean south of Jamaica. Now here's a plot of air pressure in inches of mercury at that buoy. The pressure fell steadily for about a day and then plummeted as the eye approached, falling more than an inch in 3 hours. Then it went back up almost as fast as the eye wall moved away. Now, here's the wind speed. It slowly increased, then maxed out as the eye wall passed, then fell to just 10 knots in the eye, then ramped up again quickly as the eye wall on the other side of the hurricane passed, and then started a steady decline. This is classic hurricane behavior that almost certainly will be on one of my meteorology exams sometime very soon. Whether the eye of Matthew ever comes ashore in the southeast U.S. is still unclear, but if it does, and it's still a Category 3 or higher, it would be the first major hurricane to make landfall in the U.S. in nearly 11 years. Stay tuned. Our extended forecast is next.